The waiter placed the dessert menu between us just as Elena said the words that made everything crystallize into perfect, cold clarity. "Actually, I hope you don't mind, but I invited someone to join us." I looked up from the menu. Through the restaurant's front window, I could see him approaching. Tall, confident stride, designer jacket. Elena was already standing, smoothing her red dress, the one I'd bought her last month, the one she'd said was too fancy to wear anywhere. "Who's that?" I asked, though something in my gut already knew. "That's David, my ex. I thought it would be nice for you two to finally meet." The waiter hovered nearby, uncertain. David entered, and Elena's face transformed into something I'd never seen before. Radiant, alive in a way that had nothing to do with me. She kissed his cheek, let her hand linger on his arm. Our 5th anniversary dinner. I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt. Just a strange, distant clarity, like watching someone else's life through glass. David extended his hand across the table. "You must be Jacob. Elena's told me so much about you." I didn't take it. Instead, I caught the waiter's attention and smiled. "Excuse me, could you bring the check, please, for everything we've ordered so far?" Elena's smile faltered. "Jacob, don't be rude. I just thought—" "The check," I repeated calmly to the waiter, who nodded and disappeared. David lowered his hand, glancing between us. He pulled out the chair next to Elena anyway, settling in like he belonged there. Bit of an awkward introduction, I guess. But Elena thought it was time we all acted like adults about this. Adults. I tasted the word, watching Elena avoid my eyes. "How long?" "How long what?" Elena's voice had that edge it got when she was defensive. "How long have you two been talking? Meeting? Whatever this is?" She lifted her chin. "We reconnected 3 months ago. We're just friends, Jacob. That's exactly why I wanted you to meet him, to show you there's nothing to hide." 3 months. I leaned back as the waiter returned with the bill folder. I pulled out my credit card without looking at the total and handed it over. "Our anniversary seemed like the right time to mention it?" "You're being dramatic." Elena's fingers drummed the table. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you sooner. You get jealous and possessive." David shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, man, if this is weird, it's not weird at all," I said. The waiter returned with my card and receipt. I signed it, added a generous tip, and stood. "It's actually perfect. Very clarifying. Where are you going?" Elena's voice rose slightly. "We haven't even finished dinner." "You haven't. I have." I pocketed my wallet and looked at David directly for the first time. "The bill's paid, including her meals. Enjoy your evening." "Jacob, sit down." Elena stood now, too, her cheeks flushing. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Am I?" I pulled on my jacket. "I paid for a romantic anniversary dinner. You invited your ex to join us. I'm simply removing myself from the equation. You two clearly have things to discuss." Several nearby tables had gone quiet, watching. Elena noticed, her face deepening to crimson. "This is insane," she hissed. "You can't just leave." "Watch me." David spoke up. "Elena, maybe we should—" "No." She grabbed my wrist. "Jacob, stop acting like a child. I invited David because I wanted to show you that we can all be mature about this. He's important to me, and so are you. Can't you understand that?" I looked down at her hand on my wrist, then up at her face. 5 years together. 5 years of building what I thought was a life. In this moment, looking at her, at the anger and entitlement in her eyes, at the complete absence of understanding about what she'd done, I felt something inside me simply release. "Let go of my arm, Elena." She She did, stepping back. If you walk out that door, don't expect me to be there when you get home. I won't be going home, I said. That's your apartment, your name on the lease. I'll have my things picked up this week. I walked out. Behind me, I heard Elena call my name once, twice. I didn't turn around. The night air hit my face, cool and sharp. I pulled out my phone and called Ryan, my college roommate and best friend. Jacob? What's up, man? Aren't you supposed to be at your anniversary dinner? Can I crash at your place tonight? Silence. Then, what happened? I'll tell you when I get there. I hung up and started walking. My car was in the restaurant parking lot, but I needed to move to put distance between myself and that scene. My phone buzzed continuously. Elena calling, texting. I silenced it and kept walking. The city streets blurred past me. Couples walked hand in hand, laughing. A group of friends stumbled out of a bar, cheerful and drunk. The world continued turning, oblivious to the fact that mine had just shifted on its axis. 20 minutes later, I stood outside Ryan's apartment building. He met me at the door, took one look at my face, and handed me a beer. Talk. I did. Everything spilled out. Not just tonight, but the past few months. Things I'd noticed, but dismissed. Elena staying late at work events. Her phone always face down on tables. The way she'd grown distant, distracted. How she'd stopped asking about my day, stopped making plans with me beyond the basics. 3 months, Ryan said when I finished. She's been seeing this guy for 3 months. She claims they're just friends. And brought him to your anniversary dinner to prove it? Ryan snorted. Yeah, that tracks. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it. Another text from Elena. You're overreacting. David left. Come home so we can talk like adults. I showed Ryan, who read it, and shook his head. Are you going to respond? Not tonight. I set the phone aside. Maybe not ever. I don't know yet. You can stay as long as you need, Ryan said. Guest room's yours. That night, lying in Ryan's spare bed, I replayed the dinner in my mind. Not with regret, but analyzing it like a puzzle. The way Elena had prepared, done her hair differently, worn that dress, arrived early to the restaurant. She'd planned this. This wasn't some spontaneous decision. She'd orchestrated the whole thing, probably discussed it with David beforehand. And that made it worse somehow. The premeditation of it. My phone continued buzzing into the night. I turned it off. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and Ryan making breakfast. He slid a plate of eggs and toast across the counter to me. How you feeling? Honestly, better than I expected. Good, because Elena's been texting me. I looked up. What's she saying? That you're being immature and childish. That she's worried about you. That this is a huge overreaction and you need to come home so you can all talk this through together. Ryan paused. All 3 of you. I set down my fork. She wants me to sit down with her and her ex. That's the gist of it. She seems to genuinely believe this is reasonable. I pulled out my phone and turned it on. 17 missed calls. 33 texts. I scrolled through them, watching Elena's messages evolve from annoyed to angry to concerned to indignant. The most recent one, sent an hour ago. I'm giving you until tonight to come home and apologize. This silent treatment is abusive. I deserve better than this. Abusive, I read aloud. The silent treatment is abusive. Ryan leaned against the counter. What are you going to do? I need to think. I finished my coffee. Can I borrow your car? I want to drive somewhere, clear my head. He tossed me his keys. Take all the time you need. I drove to the lake where Elena and I had gone on our first date. It was early enough that the parking lot was nearly empty. I sat on a bench overlooking the water and finally let myself feel it. Not anger or betrayal, but sadness. Sadness for what I'd thought we had. Sadness that she'd become someone I didn't recognize. I remembered that first date clearly. Elena had been nervous, talking too fast, laughing at her own jokes. We'd walked around this lake for hours, talking about everything, our families, our dreams, embarrassing childhood stories. She'd told me about David then, actually. Her ex who'd moved across the country for a job, how they'd tried long distance, but it hadn't worked. I don't think I'm cut out for long distance, she'd said. I need someone present, someone who's here. I'd been here, present, available, and it hadn't been enough. My phone rang. Not Elena this time. My mom. Jacob, honey, Elena just called me. I closed my eyes. What did she say? That you two had a fight, and you stormed out. That she's worried about you and wants me to convince you to come home. Mom paused. But I know you, sweetheart. You don't storm. So what really happened? I told her everything. When I finished, Mom was quiet for a long moment. Do you love her? The question surprised me. I did. I think I still do, in a way. But Mom, she invited her ex-boyfriend to our anniversary dinner without asking me, without even warning me. And she genuinely doesn't see anything wrong with that. No, Mom said slowly. She doesn't. And that tells you everything you need to know. What do you mean? People who respect you consider your feelings. They don't ambush you. They don't invite old flames to intimate celebrations and expect you to be grateful for the opportunity to prove you're not jealous. She sighed. Your father and I raised you to know your worth, Jacob. This woman doesn't see it. The question is, do you? After we hung up, I sat with that question. Did I know my worth? Or had I been so focused on making the relationship work, on being understanding and accommodating, that I'd lost sight of what I deserved? I thought about the past year. How I'd planned elaborate surprises for Elena's birthday, while she'd forgotten mine entirely. How I'd supported her through her career transition, listening to her vent every night, while she'd barely noticed when I'd gotten my promotion. How I'd suggested couples activities, hiking, cooking classes, weekend trips, and she'd always been too tired, too busy, too stressed. Until David came back into the picture. Then, suddenly she had energy for late-night conversations, for getting dressed up, for making time. I pulled out my phone and opened my messages to Elena. I typed carefully. I'm not coming back. What you did last night wasn't a mistake or a miscommunication. It was a choice that showed me exactly where I stand in your life. I won't be part of a relationship where I'm asked to compete for respect. I'll arrange to pick up my things this week. I wish you well. I read it twice, then hit send before I could second-guess myself. The response came within seconds. Are you serious? You're throwing away 5 years over one dinner? You're being ridiculous. If you can't handle me having friends, that's your problem, not mine. I stared at the message. Friends. She was still calling David a friend. And more than that, she was making this about my inability to handle her friendships, not about her bringing her ex to our anniversary without discussion or consent. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my landlord from 3 years ago, before I'd moved into Elena's place. Did he have any vacancies? He did. A 1-bedroom on the 2nd floor, available immediately. I'll take it. Don't you want to see it first? I've lived in your building before. I trust it's in good condition. When can I move in? Lease is ready to sign tomorrow if you want. First month and security deposit. I'll be there at 9. Over the next week, I moved into my new apartment with Ryan's help. My belongings from Elena's place fit into Ryan's truck in a single trip. 5 years reduced to a dozen boxes and some furniture. Elena was at work when we arrived to collect my things. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. This is really how you want to end things? Without even talking? I expected more from you. Ryan read it over my shoulder and scoffed. The audacity. Yeah. I pocketed the note and started gathering my books from the living room shelf. Let's just get this done. As we packed, I noticed things I hadn't before. How little of the apartment was actually mine. The couch, hers. The dishes, hers. The art on the walls, all hers. I'd been living in her space, adapting to her aesthetic, becoming smaller and smaller to fit into the life she'd designed. Did you have any say in how this place was decorated? Ryan asked, reading my thoughts. Not really. She had strong opinions about everything. I figured it didn't matter. But it did matter. Yeah, it did. We loaded the last box into the truck. I took one final walk through the apartment, making sure I hadn't forgotten anything. In the bedroom, I found a photo frame face down on Elena's nightstand. I picked it up. It was a picture of us from 2 years ago, hiking in the mountains. We both looked happy. I left it there. Setting up the new apartment felt like shedding skin. Every item I unpacked was a choice. Keep it, donate it, throw it away. Photos of Elena and me went into a box in the closet. The coffee maker she'd given me for Christmas went to Goodwill. I'd never liked it anyway. I kept only what felt truly mine. Ryan helped me assemble furniture, order pizza, and stock the fridge. By the end of the weekend, the apartment felt less like a temporary landing spot and more like a home. You good? Ryan asked before leaving Sunday night. Getting there. Call me if you need anything. I mean it. I know. Thanks, man. After he left, I stood in the center of my living room. My couch, my coffee table, my choice of paint color on the walls. It was small and modest, but it was mine. My phone continued to buzz with messages from Elena. They evolved from angry to pleading to angry again. David and I really are just friends. You're seeing things that aren't there. I can't believe you're being this petty. We can work through this if you'd just talk to me. Fine. I guess this shows your true colors. You never really loved me if you can just walk away this easily. That last one almost made me laugh. Walk away easily, as if the decision hadn't required every ounce of self-respect I could muster. As if it didn't hurt. But hurt and wrong were different things. Something could hurt and still be right. I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Patricia Hammond had an office near my new apartment, and her website emphasized helping people through relationship transitions. In our first session, she asked me to describe what had happened. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. How do you feel about your decision to leave? Conflicted. Like I did the right thing, but also like maybe I gave up too easily. Did you give up? Or did you choose yourself? I thought about that. I chose myself, but Elena says that's selfish. Is it selfish to have boundaries? She seems to think so. Dr. Hammond made a note. Let me ask you something, Jacob. If a friend came to you and told you their partner had invited an ex to their anniversary dinner without permission, what would you tell them? I'd tell them to leave. Immediately. Probably not immediately. I'd tell them to have a serious conversation about boundaries and respect. And if their partner responded by calling them jealous and possessive for having feelings about it, I saw where she was going. I'd tell them to leave. So why is it different when it's you? Over the following weeks, we unpacked that question. How I'd been raised to be accommodating. How I'd watched my father bend over backward to make my mother happy, often at the expense of his own needs. How I'd internalized the message that relationships required sacrifice, even when that sacrifice meant sacrificing yourself. Relationships do require sacrifice, Dr. Hammond said, but not self-sacrifice. There's a difference between compromise and erasure. I think I've been erasing myself for a long time. What would it look like to stop? I started to figure that out. I joined a recreational basketball league, something I'd loved in college but had stopped because Elena found sports boring. I started cooking again, experimenting with recipes, making food I actually wanted to eat. I reconnected with friends I'd drifted away from. 2 weeks after the dinner, I met Ryan for drinks. He studied me across the table. "You seem different," he said. "Better." "I feel lighter," I admitted. "Is that weird? Shouldn't I be more upset?" "You're upset," Ryan said. "But you're also free. Those things can coexist." My phone buzzed. Another message from Elena. I silenced it without reading. "She's still texting?" "Every day, sometimes multiple times." "What's she saying now?" I finally looked. "I'm seeing David, officially. I thought you should know. I guess you were right to be jealous after all." I showed Ryan, who winced. "That's cold." "That's honest," I corrected. "Finally." Because that's what it was. 3 months of just friends while I was still in the picture. Now, 2 weeks after I left, officially dating. The timeline made everything clear. I typed a final message. "I hope you're both very happy together. Please don't contact me again." Then I blocked her number. Ryan raised his beer. "To new beginnings." I clinked my bottle against his. "To knowing when to walk away." The following weeks brought a routine I hadn't expected to enjoy. I woke up when I wanted, ate what I wanted, spent evenings reading books I'd been meaning to get to, or watching movies Elena had always vetoed. I started going to the gym again, something I'd dropped because Elena thought gym memberships were a waste of money. I felt myself expanding, taking up space I hadn't realized I'd been shrinking from. One evening, Ryan invited me to a party his coworker was throwing. I almost declined. I wasn't ready for the "are you seeing anyone" small talk. But something made me say yes. The party was in a loft downtown, full of people I didn't know. I grabbed a beer and found a corner, content to observe. That's where I met Diane. She appeared beside me, gesturing to the crowd. "Not really your scene either?" I smiled. "That obvious?" "You have the look of someone who's here out of obligation rather than enthusiasm." She extended her hand. "I'm Diane, the host's sister. I'm here because Tom begged me to help make sure he looked like he had friends." "Jacob. I'm here because Ryan—" I pointed him out, laughing loudly by the kitchen. Said I needed to get out more. "Do you? Need to get out more?" I considered this. "Probably. I recently ended a relationship. I've been spending a lot of time alone." Good alone or bad alone? Good, I think. Processing. We talked for an hour. She was a teacher, funny and sharp, with opinions about everything from city infrastructure to the best pizza in town. She didn't ask about my ex, didn't dig into my recent past, just talked with me like I was a person, not a project or a problem. When the party wound down, she handed me her number. "No pressure, but if you want to continue this conversation sometime, coffee shop, minus the drunk people. Let me know." I looked at the number, then at her. "I'm not really looking to date anyone right now." "Neither am I," she said cheerfully. "But I am looking for people who have interesting conversations. So, coffee. As humans. What do you say?" I saved her number. "I'll think about it." "Fair enough." She waved and disappeared into the crowd. Ryan appeared at my elbow. "Who was that? Someone nice?" "You going to call her?" "Maybe, probably." I pocketed my phone. "Not yet." I told Dr. Hammond about Diane in our next session. "I like her, but I feel guilty about even considering dating someone new." "Why guilty?" "Because it hasn't been that long. Because part of me still, I don't know, misses what Elena and I had." "Do you miss Elena? Or do you miss the relationship you wanted with her?" I sat with that question. "The second one." "That's normal. You're grieving not just the relationship, but the future you'd imagined. That takes time." She paused. "But Jacob, you're allowed to move forward while still processing what happened. They're not mutually exclusive." "So I can call Diane?" "Do you want to call Diane?" "Yes." "Then call Diane." A month after the anniversary dinner, I finally felt ready to tackle something I'd been avoiding. Elena's social media. I'd blocked her on my accounts, but I knew through mutual friends that she'd been posting. I asked Ryan to show me. He pulled up her Instagram on his phone, hesitating. "You sure you want to see this?" "Yeah, I need to." He handed over the phone. Elena's feed was full of photos, her and David at restaurants, at the beach, hiking the trails she'd always been too tired to do with me. They looked happy. Genuinely, publicly happy in a way she'd never been with me, at least not in the last year. The most recent post was from their hiking trip. The caption read, "Finally found someone who keeps up with me. Life's too short to slow down for people who can't match your energy." I handed the phone back to Ryan. "Wow." "I'm sorry, man." "Don't be." And I meant it. Looking at those photos, I didn't feel jealousy or regret. I felt vindicated. She found what she wanted, and it wasn't me. That doesn't mean there was anything wrong with you. I know. And I did know, finally. We weren't right for each other. I wanted a partner. She wanted an audience. That night, I texted Diane. "Coffee sometime this week?" Her response came quickly. "Wednesday at 2? There's a place near the park that has excellent pastries. Perfect. See you there." Wednesday afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop 5 minutes early. Diane was already there, reading a book at a corner table. She looked up and smiled. "You came." I said I would. "People say lots of things." She closed her book. "But you seem like someone who means what they say." We talked for 3 hours, about teaching, about my work in marketing, about growing up, dreams, fears, the random small observations that make up a life. She told me about her divorce 2 years ago, how she'd spent a year convincing herself to leave before finally doing it. "What made you finally go?" I asked. I realized I was performing being happy instead of actually being happy. And life's too short for performance art. She stirred her coffee. "What about you? What made you walk away at that dinner?" I thought about it. I think I suddenly saw the situation clearly, not through the lens of who I wanted Elena to be or who I hoped we could become, just who she actually was in that moment, and I knew if I stayed, I'd spend the rest of my life trying to convince her to see me the way I wanted to be seen. And that's exhausting. Exactly. You know what I admire about that? You didn't try to fix it. You didn't make excuses. You just left. That takes courage. It felt more like survival. Maybe. But survival takes courage, too. We became friends after that coffee date. Real friends, meeting for coffee weekly, texting about random things, occasionally meeting up with our respective friend groups. There was no pressure, no expectation, just two people who enjoyed each other's company. I appreciated that about Diane. She didn't need anything from me except my genuine presence, and in return, she offered hers. No games, no tests, just honest, easy companionship. One evening, about 6 weeks after that first coffee, we were walking through the park after dinner. It was one of those perfect autumn nights, cool and clear, leaves crunching under our feet. "Can I ask you something?" Diane said. "Sure. Are you over her? Elena?" I thought about it. I don't know if over her is the right phrase. I'm not angry anymore. I don't want her back. But I'm still processing what happened, trying to understand how I missed the signs. Maybe you didn't miss them. Maybe you saw them and chose to believe in the relationship anyway. Is that better or worse? Neither. It's human. She stopped walking, turned to face me. "Jacob, I like spending time with you. A lot. And I think you like spending time with me. But I need to know, are you doing this because you enjoy my company, or because you're trying to prove to yourself that you can move on?" The question caught me off guard. That's very direct. I'm a direct person. Life's too short not to be. I looked at her, really looked at her, the way she met my eyes without flinching, the honesty in her expression, the patience. "I enjoy your company," I said. "Genuinely. You make me laugh, you challenge me. And when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm performing or proving anything. I just feel like myself." "Good. Because that's exactly how I feel when I'm with you." She smiled. "So maybe we should stop calling this friendship and start calling it what it actually is." "Which is? Dating. We're dating, Jacob. We have been for weeks. We just haven't said it out loud." I laughed. "Yeah, I guess we have been." She took my hand. "For the record, I'm not asking you to be over Elena completely. I know that's not how healing works. I'm just asking you to be honest with yourself and with me about where you are." "I can do that." "Then that's enough." 3 months after the anniversary dinner, I ran into Elena. Literally, we nearly collided outside a bookstore downtown. "Jacob." "Elena, hi." We stood there, awkward. She looked different. Her hair was longer, highlighted. She wore David's jacket, clearly his from the size. "How have you been?" she asked. "Good. Really good, actually. You?" "Great. David and I are actually moving in together next month." "That's fast," she bristled. "When you know, you know." "Sure." I shifted my bag to my other shoulder. "Well, I'm glad you're happy." "I am." She studied me. "You look good. Different." "I am different. Better, I think." She opened her mouth, closed it. Finally. "I'm sorry for how I handled things. The anniversary dinner. I should have talked to you first." "Yeah, you should have. David and I, we have this connection, and I wanted you to understand it, to see that you didn't have to feel threatened." "Elena, the problem was never that I felt threatened. The problem was that you prioritized showing me I shouldn't feel threatened over actually respecting our relationship." I sighed. "But it doesn't matter now. It worked out the way it needed to." "Did it? You seem angry." "I'm not angry. I'm just done having this conversation. I've moved on. I hope you have too." I walked past her into the bookstore. My hands were shaking slightly, but I felt good. Strong. I'd said what needed saying without cruelty or drama. Behind me, I heard her call out, "I really did love you, you know." I turned back. She stood on the sidewalk, looking smaller somehow. "I believe you," I said. "I just don't think you loved me enough. Or maybe not in the right way, but that's okay. We both deserve better than what we were." I didn't wait for her response. Inside the bookstore, I took a moment to breathe. My phone buzzed, a text from Diane. "How's your afternoon going?" I smiled and typed back, "Just ran into Elena." "I'm okay. Tell you about it over dinner?" "Of course. Your place or mine?" "Yours. I'll bring wine." "Perfect. See you at 7. 6 months after the anniversary dinner, Diane asked me to be her +1 to her friend's wedding. "Just as friends," she clarified. "Unless you want it to be more. I'm open to more. But no pressure." I thought about it. Really thought about it. Was I ready? Did I want this? "Let's go as a couple," I said. "Because that's what we are." "Yeah?" Her face lit up. "Yeah? I'm ready. More than ready." She kissed me then, soft and sweet. "Good. Because I was hoping you'd say that." At the wedding, watching couple after couple take the floor, Diane leaned over. "You ever think about getting married?" "I used to. With Elena, I thought." I trailed off. "I thought that's where we were heading. But looking back, I don't think she ever saw it that way." "What would you want? In a marriage, I mean." "Partnership. Real partnership. Someone who shows up for the small things, not just the big moments. Someone who chooses me every day, not just when it's convenient." I looked at her. "What about you?" "Pretty much exactly that. Plus someone who doesn't mind that I sing badly in the shower and keep way too many plants." "How many plants are we talking?" 47 at last count." I laughed. "That's excessive." "It absolutely is. But they make me happy, so..." She shrugged. We danced. Not just to the fun songs this time, but to the slow ones too. Diane fit perfectly against me, her head on my shoulder, moving in easy rhythm. This was what partnership felt like. Effortless. Natural. Right. On the drive home, Diane said, "I love you, you know." I nearly swerved. "What? I love you. I've been wanting to say it for a while now, but I wanted to make sure you were ready to hear it." She turned to look at me. "And if you're not ready to say it back, that's okay. I just wanted you to know." I pulled into her driveway and turned off the car. "I love you too." "Yeah?" "Yeah. I think I have for a while. I was just scared, maybe. Scared of moving too fast. Scared of repeating old patterns." "Are we an old pattern?" "No. We're something completely new. Something better." She kissed me then, deep and certain. Good, because I have a really good feeling about this. A year after the anniversary dinner, I proposed to Diane on a hiking trail she'd been wanting to try. Nothing fancy, just the two of us, the mountains, and a ring I'd spent weeks picking out with Ryan's help. She said yes before I'd even finished asking. "Really?" I laughed, pulling her to her feet. "I had a whole speech prepared." "Save it for the wedding," she said, kissing me. "Right now I just want to be engaged to you." We called our families from the summit. Ryan whooped so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. My mom cried, happy tears. Diane's sister demanded photos immediately. Dr. Hammond smiled when I told her at our next session. "How do you feel?" "Happy. Genuinely happy." "Is that okay?" "Why wouldn't it be?" "Because a year ago I was with someone else. Because it feels almost too easy with Diane, like I should be working harder." "Jacob, relationships aren't supposed to be constant work. They're supposed to be partnership. Yes, they require effort and communication, but the foundation should be ease, not struggle. I think I spent so long struggling that I forgot what ease felt like. And now? Now I remember. That evening, sitting on Diane's couch surrounded by her ridiculous number of plants, I pulled up old photos on my phone. Not of Elena, I'd deleted most of those, but of me from a year ago. I barely recognized that person. The hollow eyes, the tight smile, the way I seemed to be shrinking into himself. "What are you looking at?" Diane peered over my shoulder. "Just who I used to be." She studied the photo, then me. "You look happier now." "I am. Happier than I even knew was possible." I set the phone down and pulled her close. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. For choosing me. For being someone I don't have to perform for." She kissed my temple. "That goes both ways, you know. You see me too. The real me, plants and bad singing and all. Especially the plants and bad singing." We sat in comfortable silence, her head on my shoulder, planning a future I actually wanted to be part of. I thought about that anniversary dinner sometimes, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because Elena inviting David had been the clearest gift she could have given me. The truth. The truth that I deserved more than I was accepting. The truth that walking away from what wasn't working was sometimes the bravest thing you could do. I'd paid the bill that night and left them there, two people who deserved each other in all the ways that mattered. And in doing so, I'd freed myself to find someone who deserved me. Sometimes the end of something is just the beginning of something better. Sometimes you have to leave the table to find out you've been starving. And sometimes paying the bill and walking away is the first step toward actually coming home.